I was gone for 3 months, just 3 months, and when I came back my vegetable garden and fruit trees were gone. In their place stood a 4-story hotel with limestone walls, balconies, and a paved parking lot. And right there in front of it all, the HOA president waved a folder of papers in my face and said, "This land belongs to the community now." That was the moment I realized my quiet little neighborhood had turned into a battlefield. I just stood there staring at this massive building like some kind of architectural theft had taken place while I was away. Above the oak double doors carved into stone were the words, Grand Haven Community Center and Inn. Not a tool shed, not a shelter, not a fence line mistake, a whole damn complex right on my lawn. I couldn't even find the words at first. I mean, how do you call the cops and say, "Hey, someone built a hotel on my property"? It sounded insane, even in my own head. Then, Claudia Hale came strutting out of the front entrance like she owned the place. Claudia, 48 gray hair, styled to perfection blazer, crisp enough to cut glass and a fake smile plastered across her face. She's been HOA president for years, and if you've ever met a Karen in your life, multiply that by 10 and give her a gavel. She spread her arms wide like she was unveiling a surprise party. Evan, wonderful timing. We had to act quickly for community safety. The fire marshal granted emergency permits. I almost laughed. Emergency permits. For a multi-story complex with balconies, decorative iron railings, and landscaped trees that looked like they'd been there for decades. "Show me the permit," I said flatly. She clutched that folder tighter like it was her newborn baby. Everything was handled through proper channels. She repeated her voice rehearsed like she'd practiced in the mirror. Before I could press further, a sheriff's cruiser pulled into my driveway. A neighbor must have called because they saw me back after months away. Deputy Aaron Blake stepped out tall. Calm, the kind of officer you know won't be fooled easily. He looked at the building, looked at me, then back at Claudia. "This appears to be a legal development on private property. I'm securing this site," he said. For the first time since stepping onto my ruined garden, I felt like someone actually understood the insanity. Still, the damage was crushing. My tomato beds gone paved over into parking spaces. My fruit trees chopped down, repositioned as landscaping for her building. As I walked the perimeter, my foot hit something buried in the construction debris, an old rusty wrench etched with MT 1967. My grandfather's wrench. He built half the original infrastructure in this town the right way with permits and approvals, never shortcuts. Finding it there was like a sign, like he was whispering from the grave. Don't let them steal what we built. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring out at crime scene tape wrapped around a building that wasn't supposed to exist. For a while, I honestly questioned myself. Maybe I was the selfish one. Maybe this community center would help everyone, and maybe fighting it would just make me the villain. Neighbors started murmuring that the place looked beautiful, that I should compromise. For a moment, I almost convinced myself to walk away to let it go. But then, Mrs. Grande came to me clutching her phone like it was evidence in a murder trial. She had a recording of Claudia screaming into the phone a week after I left. "We need concrete poured before the tax guy returns." And then, an anonymous email landed in my inbox, a zoomed photo of a forged signature. The supposed permits. Claudia waved around fake. That snapped me back to reality. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't selfish. I was being robbed, plain and simple. The next day, a city inspector named Martinez showed up. He circled the building, shaking his head as he jotted notes. "Emergency permits don't cover multi-month community centers with entertainment facilities," he muttered. My neighbors slowly came forward one by one. Mrs. Patterson admitting Claudia told her the lumber was for a storm shelter. Mr. Williams confessing he was told the noise was just quick repairs. Every single neighbor had been fed a different story, tailored lies designed to keep suspicion low. And then came Marcus Thompson, the contractor. A man with 20 years of clean work behind him, suddenly pale as a ghost. Claudia had given him falsified documents and he'd trusted her. "If these papers are fake," he whispered, "my license, my entire reputation, it's finished." You could see the betrayal etched into his face. He turned and said, "I'll cooperate fully. I want to clear my name." That was the turning point. This wasn't just a property dispute anymore, it was fraud, and now we had insiders willing to expose it. The deeper investigators dug, the uglier it got. Claudia had siphoned $400,000 from the HOA reserve fund without board approval. Worse, she had personally guaranteed loans using her own house as collateral. Why? Because decades ago, her father lost contracts to my grandfather's company. This wasn't about safety or community. It was about revenge, 50 years in the making. The media showed up with cameras blasting headlines across the county. HOA president accused of building on private property. Neighbors split into camps. Some parroted Claudia's lines about progress and community benefit. Others, finally seeing the evidence, started calling it what it was: straight theft. I remember standing in front of the camera's crime scene tape behind me and saying, if HOA presidents can authorize construction on private property, no one's home is safe. The investigation uncovered it all: falsified signatures, missing permits, financial records that reeked of fraud. At the emergency HOA meeting, even her closest allies couldn't defend her. "You exceeded your authority dramatically," one board member announced. They stripped her of the presidency on the spot. The final showdown came in court. Claudia stood there in her perfect blazer, still trying to spin it as community service gone misunderstood. But the judge, Patricia Wells, was having none of it. She slammed the gavel and declared Claudia guilty of misusing HOA authority, guilty of fraud, guilty of property conversion. The sentence, 6 months of community service teaching HOA governance barred for life from holding any HOA office, restitution of legal costs, and, most importantly, full legal transfer of the community center to me, the rightful landowner. I'll never forget the look on her face when the judge signed that transfer order. The empire she built on, lies the hotel she thought would cement her legacy, was now legally mine. The boardroom queen lost her crown in a single stroke of the pen. I didn't cheer. I didn't gloat. I walked up to the front of the building, took my grandfather's old wrench, and bolted a new sign onto the entrance. Brooks Community Center, built right this time. The crowd behind me was silent, the cameras flashing, neighbors whispering. For once, the building wasn't a symbol of fraud. It was proof that law still mattered. Claudia thought she could rewrite the rules in the name of community. But here's the lesson: good intentions don't justify breaking the law. Property rights protect all of us, ignore them, and everything falls apart.